You're listening to Two Bobs, conversations on the art of creative entrepreneurship with David C. Baker and Blair Enns.
All right, Blair, I've made it a practice in my life to try to trap you as often as possible. I need to go look at my list. I think I've got like 6 or 7. This could get added to the list. This could very well be something you regret, because I was reading through these notes. It's like, whoa, some of this stuff I knew, some of it I didn't. Like, I don't even know if you have a module on writing proposals, but are you really sure you kind of want to talk about all this stuff? Not only are you giving away a lot of information, the second thought was, well, what if clients see some of this and can kind of see through it when they see a proposal that comes across the desk that mirrors what we're talking about? Are you sure this is something you want to do?
Do I want to give away all of my best stuff on this free podcast? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. I mean, you don't have that much best stuff. You really want to give it away?
Oh, we're going there, are we? Well, David, I have to confess, like, this is a topic. We've been doing this podcast for 5 years, and it's like, maybe I should do a topic on the killer proposal giveaway, like my recipe for the killer proposal.
Yeah.
But then I've thought, we already get a lot of reviews on the podcast, people saying, I can't believe this is free. And we've talked about, well, maybe we should charge for this. I do have some trepidation around this because I feel like what I am about to deliver here, the awesomeness, the goodness, probably people should pay a lot of money for this, but I'm parking that feeling. I'm going to lean into this, and I intend to deliver pure gold for the next 30 minutes.
It reminds me of when you published the manifesto, you allowed people to read that for free. And I don't know if you felt any trepidation, but it clearly didn't hurt the sales of the book because it's been a huge bestseller with many, many printings. And so maybe it's good. But before we dive in here, I do have a question. You probably aren't going to have any real data on this, but I'm just curious. How many firms do you think are doing a really good job of writing, if we use your phrase, killer proposals? Are most of them or not? Is this a factor in why they're not landing more work?
It's a good question. I don't know what the answer is. I'll be shocked if people don't hear something they can't put into practice right away. I think everybody's up for a learning moment here. I'm going to shatter the worlds of a lot of people in this episode.
So if the proposals are just ho-hum, they're not very good, and they listen to this carefully, which probably will require a couple of listens, what sort of results are you expecting, or is that just too specific?
What's with the build-up here, Baker? Come on. I have gold to share.
Okay.
This thing could go on forever because there's so much goodness in this episode.
And apparently it will if you just keep avoiding my questions.
I am champing at the bit.
Okay, so before we get into the specifics, what's the context here? Like things around how long it needs to be, and like just talk about the bigger context.
I'm going to give you basically the anatomy of Blair's killer proposal, all of the elements of your proposal that should be there, that should be in order. But before we get into the anatomy of it, there's 2 kind of overarching principles. One overarching principle, and then what I call the secret sauce. So the overarching principle when it comes to your proposal is size matters.
Okay.
Heft is important. The bigger the proposal, the better it is. Full stop.
Wow.
Not what you were expecting to hear, was it?
Well, no.
Think of it this way.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. Page count in the client's mind equals brain cells. So the more pages in your proposal, the smarter you appear, right? So let's just get that out of the way. The bigger the proposal, the smarter you and your firm are going to appear. So size matters. Make the proposal as big as possible. I mean, I see some 50-page proposals. I'm not impressed because I used to do 125-page proposals. And I think if you're under 75, you're mailing it in. So I want people to up their size game. I want them to push past the 75-page proposal barrier and get well past 100.
But people are staying up all night as it is.
Yeah.
You're wanting them to stay up several nights in a row.
It's the best part of this business, David, is those caffeine-fueled nights when you are so excited. You're working on page 142 of the deck that you're going to deliver the next morning, and you are just buzzing on this combination of caffeine and gin. Like, this is why we got into this business. So let's just acknowledge that these are the best moments. 3:30 in the morning, we've got to have this thing delivered by 8, and we are on fire. We live for this. So let's just lean into that.
All right. So you said two things. The first one was length, and I'm hoping, whatever we learn here, I'm hoping some of this can be templated, because I can't quite imagine starting from scratch and building a bunch of 150.
Oh, of course you're going to want to template your proposal. Of course, yeah.
All right. So that's the first. What's the second big thing you want to make sure we understand?
Well, the second big thing is what I call the secret sauce. This is like the killer. If you only do one thing, if you only take one thing away from this podcast, it's this one. So at the top of the first page, and every page that follows, you put your logo in the top left-hand corner and the client's logo in the top right-hand corner.
Even if their logo isn't any good?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter, because what's going to happen is you stand up in front of the room to do the keynote presentation. You go to the first slide. Your logo is there. The client's logo is there. And the client's going to look at it and go, oh my God, it's like we were meant to be together.
A match made in heaven, really.
Yeah, it's going to just feel like that. Like, what are those, The Bachelorette? It's going to be like that. And it's so powerful. Don't just do it on the first page. Do it on every page. So those are the two kind of overarching ideas. Number one, heft counts. Size matters, so make it as big as you can, because that conveys intelligence. And number two, use this little secret sauce thing of putting your logo in one corner and the client's logo in the other corner.
Wow.
So those are the two things I want to get out of the way. Like, pretty good stuff, right?
It is good stuff. I mean, I'm going to need a lot more explanation to figure out what goes in the rest of this thing, but at least I have a larger context for it.
Well, how much time have you got? Because I have so much.
Yeah, I don't have that much. I'll just tell you that. Okay. All right. So let's get to the contents of this thing. What actually do you use to fill this? We don't need to get into spacing and, all that stuff, but what are some of the things that you need to put in here to fill this in a way that makes it seem not just long, but substantive?
Yeah. So the first thing that you do on the guts once you get inside is you need the client logo wall. So you need to take every client you've ever worked with, and especially the big important ones, and you need to plaster that first page with just a wall of logos. And I'll just point out here that anybody is pretty much fair game. So you've got an art director on your team who used to work on a Microsoft VAR reseller account. Microsoft is a client. Put Microsoft down. You've got somebody who in art school did a spec project on the iPod launch, even though it was just an art school project. It was for Apple. Apple is a client. Put Apple on the wall of logos.
Wait, doesn't it have to be a little more recent?
No, time is immaterial and experience is experience. You're not technically saying these are our clients. You're saying our team has experience with these brands. So it's technically true, right? Because you have experience with the brand. I mean, some brands we live with every day. I'm sitting here with a Yeti coffee cup. This is part of my day every day. Technically, I have experience with the Yeti brand, and that could kind of almost go on the client logo wall.
So it doesn't matter how long ago.
No.
It doesn't matter if it was somebody who did it before they worked for you. It doesn't matter whether it was something like you really had an impact.
Put it on there.
Just put it on there. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a little surprising to me. What I'm nervous about is what if they ask about what you did for that?
They never ask.
Oh.
They never ask.
Well, that's good to know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
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 Okay, we got the client, we got the logo wall. How many pages is that typically?
Well, that's one. That's the one where it's just one. And if you want to fill up that logo wall, so when people look at it, it's like overwhelmed. Oh my God, you've worked with all of the best, biggest companies in the world. If you've been in business for 2 or 3 years and you have 2 or 3 people and you can't put Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, all of those on there, then you're just not pushing the envelope far enough or hard enough, because you have experience with all these brands. Your people do. You just have to embrace this idea and get them on the logo wall, but just one page.
Well, I mean, I guess if that makes you uncomfortable to do it,
then find something else to do for a living, right? Like if it makes you uncomfortable, you are in the wrong line of work.
Well, I was going to say your competition in this game it probably doesn't bother them. So you kind of have to level out the playing field, and you follow the same rules they are. And if they're going to put a big logo wall up here without any consideration, then I guess it's really not fair to deprive your potential client of the opportunity to work for you just because of unfair competition. So I get that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. How much do we need to say about the team? How does that relate to this?
Talk about like padding your proposal. Team bios is a place where, I mean, you could get 2 people per page, right? So if you've got a 20-person team, that's 10 pages right there. Never double-side your proposal, just like because that would cut the length in half.
Yeah.
But team bios, it's really important that you have team bios. And like, I don't care if you're a distributed organization where everybody's a contractor, just list all of your contractors, show the team members, and it's really important that you show photos.
Modern photos?
A bit of a hack here is funny photos. You want to have funny photos of all of your team members. So them looking goofy, maybe pictures from them as kids, and then your clients, while they're reading your proposal and everybody else's proposals, they can play this game of like trying to figure out like who is this, matching to your website. So you give them a little something fun to do. So pad it with bios, get really personal, and make sure the photos are funny.
This is where I wish you could have the mouse over effect, because that's one of the things I love when I look at websites.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It's a kid's picture and you don't really know who it is until you mouse over it. It'd be nice if you could do that in a PDF.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and dogs, let's just talk about dogs, because you don't want to put all the office dogs, like all the people who bring all the dogs. You want to have like 1 or 2 dogs. So it's like a 2-dog maximum, but you want to show the character of your firm, the personality of your brand, right? And a lot of that's tied into like the dogs that roam the hallways of the office. So make sure you get a dog shot or 2 in there. And also, like, while we're on the subject of photos, and it's not really team, but it's tied to team and culture, you want to show off your culture, because the culture of your firm is really important to these companies that are hiring you. So you want to show like the espresso machines and the foosball table and everybody laughing and having fun.
The small beer fridge in the conference room.
So lots of like culture photos.
Probably bicycles hanging up at the entrance.
You got it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can see now, I'm not quite surprised that this might be 150 pages, because we're already at maybe, 25, and we haven't even gotten into the meat of this thing yet. So it's feeling a little bit easier. All right, so what do we do next?
Next section, why us? Why you should hire us. And we need to go into full persuasion mode here. And this why us section, it breaks down into 3 subsections: people, passion, and process, which, as you know, is Canadian for process. So people, passion, and process. But you start with, a big plea for why they should hire you. And then your 3 reasons are, number 1, the quality of your people. It's the people that set you apart. Like every other firm out there, it really does come down to everybody gets hired because of the quality of their people. So C section above, right? Look, these are real people pictured in real moments. These are funny photographs of real life. And that's because your people are real. Your people get it, right? Where others don't get it. So at the end of the day, like, why hire us? Because we get it. Look at these people. Our people get it. We hire good people. We get good people who get it.
How do you not cross the line between sort of desperate for work, which we wouldn't want, but we really want a deep eagerness, like, please let us work on this. Not because we have to, but because we want to.
Yeah. Don't worry about that line, because that's the second P is passion.
Okay.
Right? You want to convey that you are really passionate about the client's brand, right? So just don't worry about crossing that line. Don't worry about being seen as needy. It's people don't want to work with people who aren't passionate about their brand. So it's really important that you communicate that you are more passionate about the client's brand than any of the other firms that they're talking to. So get some team photos of your team interacting with the client's brand, right? And again, make sure it's funny, because funny photos are always funnier than non-funny photos.
Right. So it's okay to bring a little bit from your personal life in here. Whatever it is, it's a product and not a service in this case. And it turns out that 7 of our people use this. It's okay to have pictures of them, funny pictures of them use it, like maybe on a vacation or at home. I mean, that's not too personal.
No, business is entirely personal. There is no line that separates. You should, in your mind, you shouldn't see this line separating business from personal. Don't share intimate photos of, like if it's a sex toy or something.
Right.
Yeah. So use your judgment, but, absolutely show passion and show how that passion bleeds into your personal life. Because if all things are equal and you got that expert firm over there, but they're not passionate about the brand, and like we're more of a generalist firm, but like our passion is going to be the tiebreaker. People want to work with people who are passionate about like the brand. It's proven, I'm pretty sure.
I can see that. There's going to be a lot of meat in here too, but I can see how that would make a difference.
This is all meat.
Oh, even this is meat.
This is the meat. I'm bringing the meat. Yeah.
Okay.
You're listening to Two Bobs, conversations on the art of creative entrepreneurship. Your hosts are David C. Baker, author, speaker, and advisor to owners of expert firms, and Blair Enns of Win Without Pitching, the sales training and coaching program for creative entrepreneurs. For more information, go to twobobs.com. If you find this podcast helpful, please help us by telling a friend and rating us on iTunes. Thank you. Now back to David and Blair.
And then the third section under Why Us is process. So you have to have that slide in your deck that's got your 4-step proprietary process where each step starts with the same letter. It's usually D. And then with the Venn diagram and that. So you got to show that off because the client's going to look at that and go, my God, that is brilliant. These guys look like they've like split the atom here. This is really smart. If you want to differentiate your process, have it start with a letter other than D, because most of them are, it's like define, design, deliver.
Yeah, I don't think you'd want to have fewer than 4 steps. That seems incomplete.
Yeah.
Maybe you could add a 5th one.
You could totally add a 5th one.
Definitely not 6.
Well, I don't know.
You think 6 would work?
Like steps equals smarts, don't you think?
Well, I guess it could, yeah.
It's just hard to find 6 words that all start with the same letter.
That makes sense.
And then the Venn diagram starts to look really weird. So I think, 4, maybe 5.
Well, you've talked a lot about the importance of process and how clients are kind of intrigued. They want to work with you, but they're not sure that however you do things is going to work in their world. And so this process side assures them that you can apply a process that you've used many times before, which almost guarantees great results at the end of this.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Where do we go next?
We've done the bios. We've done Why Us.
We haven't talked about the client yet, really.
Yeah, and this is where we're doing it.
Okay.
It's called background. So background, this is where you show off your internet search skills, like background on the client. So you basically take the brief as they've given it to you. You read it back to them to communicate that, okay, hey, we understand you. And then even some, like go to the company's Wikipedia page or wherever and just like say, okay, so you were launched in 1959. You've been in business for this many of years, you serve this marketplace, revenue is this, like everything that you can dig up about the company that you were able to Google last night, put it all in there. And this is another section where you can really add some heft. You can really just dump. You can just copy paste from Wikipedia and maybe some of their public filings.
Right.
And you can add like 4, 5, 6 pages here, just background on the company and their challenge.
What are we really trying to accomplish with this section? We're already beginning a deep dive and understanding the client. Why do we need this section in here? Is it that we're listening, that we're careful? What are we saying with this section?
Well, I think we're just, showing off our internet search skills. We're showing that, hey, we know how Google works.
Oh, okay.
And because they know who they are, and we're just proving to them that we know who they are too, they'll just go, okay, great. They know who we are. They figured out Google or DuckDuckGo. And I think we just need to check that box that we have search skills and it makes sense for the client to keep reading.
This would be a place where if you're starting to run out of time, This is where you could plug interns in, assuming that they have those internet search skills, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
To help fill this out while you work on some of the meatier stuff. So that's good. How many pages should we have about the background stuff? Is this in a half a page or longer?
No. I think it's 5 or 6 pages.
Oh, it's longer than I thought.
And I love your idea of using interns. And if you can drop some photos, if you can show a photo of the company's headquarters, something like that, that can take up a quarter of a page right there. So drop some photos in there.
Yeah. I mean, like if you were pitching to Apple, you'd absolutely want their 360-degree circle kind of thing, right?
Yeah, totally. You get this.
I love looking at that. All right. So we're moving forward now, and at some point, we're going to have to start talking about the problem that we're trying to solve. Is that now or later?
This is now. This is the meatiest of the meaty meat parts right here. This next section is reframe the problem. Reframe the problem. So you got the background, and you've kind of read the brief back to the client. Now we need to reframe the problem in our own words. And this starts with a slide in the deck that says, "We are living in the blank economy."
So you fill in the blank, but the blank might change from time to time.
Exactly. So every proposal needs to have a slide that says we are living in the blank economy. So the blank, just go on Twitter and see what's trending. Like whatever is the hot topic of the day. Like today, we're recording this early in 2022. There's just so many things we could fill in the blank. We're living in the crypto, blockchain, distributed, autonomous, metaverse, tokenized.
NFTs maybe even?
Well, you wouldn't say NFT, but you would say like tokenized because NFT is like, that's just kind of giving it all away. It's like, because when somebody sees tokenized, they're going to go, oh yeah, it's those NFTs everybody's talking about. So we're starting by reframing the problem, saying we are living in the blank economy. That should be that line over top of an image, and the image should just say it all. And when the client looks at that, they should go, oh my God. Like they have to have heard a little bit about whatever's in the blank, but they can't know too much about it. It's got to be really bleeding edge. And then you can talk for a few paragraphs about why this is true. You can drop some stats on, how much Mark Zuckerberg is spending on this thing right now, or how much like Balaji Srinivasan is like tweeted about this 8 times, or Andreessen Horowitz has got like X billion invested in these types of things. So you provide some background there. But so when the client sees this, when they read it, they should go, oh, I've heard of this. It's really bleeding edge. I'm not fully sure what it is or what it means for us. And then once they're done reading your section, it's like, oh my God, I've never thought of it this way before.
Well, hang on a second. So let's say you're pitching Kraft and it's some CPG food product or something. Would you even insert something like we're living in the tokenized economy if you're pitching?
Totally you would. Totally would.
Seriously.
Like fractionalized cheese slices. This is just me riffing, right? So I don't actually know what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying, why couldn't you fractionalize and tokenize a cheese slice?
Well, that's true.
Why not?
Yeah.
It might sound crazy now, but I guarantee you in 6 months, somebody will be doing it. So don't worry about bridging the gap between like the current use of these technologies or ideas and where we're going to be in the future. In fact, the client first reaction should be, well, you can't fractionalize a cheese slice. And then you just want to follow that up and say, well, that's what you think now.
Right.
So this section, we're reframing the problem. We're bending the problem to the current like topic du jour in a way that the client's really not expecting. I'll just jump ahead a little bit here because the next section is on strategy. And this is where we really want to make sure, like for us to win competitively, we need to get the client to rethink what the problem is.
Right.
And to be thinking along the terms of like this economy. Like here's an example. So if like, let's say the brief is on a website, the client's trying to hire a marketing firm to do a website. But if this is the NFT economy, then we need to set up the idea of like doing an NFT of the new website, which we'll do in the strategy section. So that's where we're going with this. And you might be thinking, well, why would you do an NFT of a website? Trust me, it doesn't make sense today, but it'll make sense tomorrow. And we fractionalize the website, sell tokens, give them away. And then we're going to set up this idea of a DAM website.
DAM as in DAMN? Or what do you mean by DAM?
I just made that up. So like a distributed autonomous metaverse website.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Right. And you don't even know what that means. And you don't need to know what that means. All you know is those 3 words you're hearing a lot these days. And we'd be idiots not to be thinking about this. So we'll do so that's where we're going with this in the strategy section. In the strategy section, we're coming up with something client hasn't even thought about. Never thought about this before, but in the context of the previous section of reframing the problem, it's like, of course, why wouldn't we do a damn website?
Well, just like I didn't really know what that referred to, I thought, how come I don't know what that... If they don't know what it means, they're probably going to assume that you're smarter than they are, and they're probably not going to dive in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's almost a way to speed up the whole presentation by throwing things in there that they don't understand them all. And you just kind of move on through because it would be embarrassing for the client to raise their hand and say, what do you mean by a damn?
Yeah, what's a damn website, right? Like, who's going to do that?
Yeah.
Who's going to be that idiot in the room, right? You've got them.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 meaty sections. First, you reframe the problem around we're living in the blank economy. And then you bend the strategy, the solution, to that idea that you planted in the reframe.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is where we start to give away the free advice on the strategy. The next section is creative. Sorry to jump ahead, but
You're excited. That's okay.
yeah, in for a penny, in for a pound, right? We've already told them what to do for free. Because if we didn't tell them, who would? Nobody else is going to come up with a damn website, right?
Yeah.
We have to give that away for free because they just wouldn't believe it otherwise. So we've got to give that away, and then we've got to pay it off creatively. So we've already given away the strategy. The idea is we get hired, they sign off on this thing, and then we will get paid for the work that we've done. So don't hold back now.
Don't worry about it, right?
Yeah.
Especially like in the first price where they do actually hire you, you just charge them a whole lot more money than you would to kind of recapture this time.
Yeah, they'll understand it. Like, you've already put all this time in. Of course you should be paid all that money because you've already done the work.
Right. Well, the good thing too, like if we flip this over to the client's perspective, they're going to get a lot of really great directions and ideas from, let's say there's 5 firms pitching them. Imagine the power of all of the free insight that comes from those 5 firms combined.
600, 700 pages of awesomeness. Yeah.
Right, yeah. But what's different about yours is that you have built it into a context that is it's unassailable. It's like with all of the way this is built.
Unassailable. I like that word. Unassailable.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's free creative because you're trying to just help them understand exactly what's happening. Is there written strategy that's free as well? Specific stuff?
Yeah. Everything about the damn website, like, just fatten that up. You could convey that standing in front of the room and just explain it in a couple of minutes, but it's not good enough. So for every genius idea, you need generally 4 or 5 pages of written support. So, pull some stats, and I kind of riffed on some. What's Andreessen Horowitz doing right now?
Right.
And what's trending on Twitter, and just pull some stats and just pad it with stats, right?
Well, so far, the one thing we haven't talked about, and I'm thinking that the person on the other side of the table is also thinking the same thing. It's like, okay, this is impressive, but it's also terrifying. How much money are we talking about here? Yeah. So you want to wait until this point to talk about it?
Yeah, you want to leave price until right at the very end. So whatever else you can come up with to fatten up the deck and to get some distance between the genius ideas and the price, go ahead and do it. Because by the time they get to the price, you want them to be overwhelmed. They are so impressed with the thinking, the ideas, and the background of the team, and your passion for their brand and all the logos you've worked on, all the clients you've worked on. But they are so impressed, at some point, if you leave it late enough, the price will not matter.
Right.
So just push it back, last page, second last page, just bury it in there somewhere.
And if you think about the fact that they've already kind of gotten attached to a bunch of the team members because you've shown them pictures of them having fun with their kids.
Yeah.
They are getting some attachment to these people, and they want to keep this up. They want to make it possible for this great firm that's enthusiastic and passionate to keep having a job, really. I mean, maybe it's just subconscious, but there's got to be some of that in here.
No, there's science there. Loss aversion bias kicks in, and it's like they start to imagine, well, what if I don't get to work with these amazing people? They just can't bear it. So as long as you leave the price late and don't make the number too big in terms of the font size, it shouldn't really matter.
Are you prepared in this sort of scenario? If they're so inspired, they want to move ahead right now. Is that okay to let them do that?
Yeah, so this leads us to the last section of the proposal, the signature page. Now, I know like there's a whole bunch of stuff in here that might make the lawyer scratch their head. Like, why would somebody ever sign this thing that's not really a contract?
It's got pictures of foosball tables in it. Like, that's what they're going to think, yeah.
But the last thing is you want to put a place for the client to sign. I mean, they don't sign them very often because they're kind of doing a lot here. We're doing a lot of heavy lifting in this document. But, just in case,
right,
when this really works, the client is like, I don't care what the price is. Where do I sign? I'm not saying that happens a lot, but in that moment, you want to make sure there's a place for the client to sign.
A full signature? Initials isn't enough?
No.
Okay.
Full signature. And maybe, copy some legalese from the internet and just like paste it in there so it kind of looks formal. I don't know if you can take it to the bank, but, a signature is good. So just like put a place to sign.
Yeah.
And then have a place for you to sign and make sure you've already signed it. Like, hey, this deal's done from my point of view. Like, it's already done. Like, you just sign here.
Wow. I wonder if they're more likely to sign if you're the first presenter or the last one. But man, talk about a high. You're walking out of this thing, and not only did the presentation, it went longer than the allotted time because they were so into it.
Yeah, because the deck's so big.
And then it's not only like it went well, but they actually signed the thing, and you're walking out. You're walking on air back to the car or the tram or wherever you got there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I'll just throw in one more little, I almost don't want to give this tip away, but I've only used it once. Mm-hmm. It worked great. So it's not legal in every jurisdiction,
right?
But when you're stapling the deck together, between the pages, you could insert the odd $100 bill.
Wow.
Check your jurisdiction.
Yeah. I know it'd be fine in Tennessee. I don't know about BC.
Yeah, I haven't tried it in BC because I live here. You don't do it in the legal jurisdiction that you live in, just in case, but just think about it. Just an idea. It's a possibility. Again, I've only done it once.
And if they don't react well, just say, oh, sorry, I don't know how that got in there. You can just say, it was a mistake in the pile. Your kid was helping you late at night. They were excited about this like you were and all that.
Yeah, you got it. Plausible deniability right there. So that's it. That's 30 minutes of gold, I think.
This is going to be
the best episode ever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. I've been surprised at some of the ones that have been the most popular.
Where we've just mailed it in and it shoots to number one.
Who's we? Who have you got in your pocket there? This is great. This is exciting.
Oh, I feel great. This could be the best work we've ever done.
All I can say is just thank you. I kind of need to take a walk after this or have a cigarette or something.
It's been my pleasure, David.
Thank you, Blair.
Thank you for listening to Two Bobs with David C. Baker and Blair Enns. Subscribe and learn more at twobobs.com. That's the number 2, BOBS.com.